Look, I think when I started writing about this, I started writing for myself. And it's really my audience is me 5 years ago, or me in the middle of the hustle. I'm giving my younger version the advice I wish I would have had as I was building the business.
Today on Strategy Shorts, I'm joined by Manuel Saez. He's got a great founder's story, and we're going to have the opportunity in today's episode to hear a little more about his background. So Manuel, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing in the world?
Hey, Dan, thanks for the invite. So my name is Manuel Saez. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally from Argentina. As a professional, my profession is industrial designer. That's what I went to school for. But in the last 15 years, I founded and ran two companies. And I sold my last company about a year ago. And since then, I've been writing, just sharing my founder journey, really. And I think one of the highlights or one of the most important aspects of that is how I went from a situation where I was experiencing burnout as a founder, found the tools, and I overcame that situation. And today I feel better than when I ever felt before. And that's what I've been writing. It's been resonating very well with a lot of founders out there. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, you know, the world of LinkedIn and on social networks is populated by people who've got big dreams, they've got big visions, they want to start their own businesses, their own side hustles, they want to bring their dreams to life. And I think what's great about your story, and I know that we're going to talk a lot about this strategy for coping with burnout and what you've been through based on your experience. What I think is so great about that is that you are speaking from experience. You know what it's like to set up multiple companies, you know what it's like to exit, and you understand the pressure that universe and that world and that hustle can bring down on people. But before we get into the detail around your approach, and I know that you've got like a 5-step framework you're going to take us through, just take us back a little bit further into that entrepreneurial journey. Like, how did you know it was time? So before you got to the burnout, before you got to the hard stuff, how did you know it was the right move to make to set up your own business? And how did you manage from taking it from an idea into something that was putting bread on the table for you and your family?
Yeah. So, prior to founding my first company, I was an executive at a corporation. As a designer, my background's in design, and I was leading a design team, 50 people, bringing products to market. And for many ways, that was my dream job when I started that. But eventually I evolved my idea of what that dream job would be evolved. In the first case of my first company, the first evolution was to start a design consultancy. It happens many times. Maybe it happened to you where you have, you work in a marketing department and you do marketing work, and then you say, no, I can do this, not for just this company, but I want to do it for many others. And that was the same idea, but this was designing physical products. So I had that company and I had it for 8 years and it was great. But in that journey, that dream evolved, not just, okay, I don't want to do just the design. I want to do the whole thing. So I want to build the product, bring it to market, sell it, do the whole thing. So that's what's my next company. So I designed an electric bike and I build a business around that electric bike. And the second business I built. But I think everybody goes through that journey where first you're in school and you want to get a job in the company that you admire the most. And then you work in there and say, no, I want to do something else. And then everything keeps evolving. And I think when you're there, you feel it. And I think the worst thing you can do is just feel it and not do anything about it. Looking back and say like, the bus just went by and I didn't get it.
So there's a sense of instinct that when you're on your professional journey, you're going to have those moments where you begin to sense that there's another direction I could take this in, or there's more of the process that I could own, or there are experiments that I could run to capitalize on some of the experiences that I've got. But then there's the feeling when you start to run into those things that we've teed up already around burnout and the kind of the pressures that come along with it. And I know that's something that's for you is a real passion point at the moment because you've been there, you know what it's like. And I know that you want to help other founders to manage some of the pressures that come along with being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, a founder, insert title here, so to speak. So before you dive into this 5-step framework that you've put together for entrepreneurs and founders, why don't you give us an idea of who you're speaking to? I know that broadly we're speaking to founders, startup owners, things like that. But who are the people that you're really hoping to connect with this framework that you've put together?
Look, I think when I started writing about this, I started writing for myself. And it's really, my audience is me 5 years ago, or me in the middle of the hustle. Um, Actually, my blog or my newsletter is called Advise Myself, just because of that. It's just I'm giving my younger version the advice I wish I would have had as I was building the business. So imagine any entrepreneur that is either getting started, maybe hitting a little friction on the business, getting a little struggle, maybe a fighting with the co-founder, maybe he cannot get product market fit, I cannot fundraise. So when you are building a business at the beginning, it's a lot easier because you have resources, you have the energy, you have the dream, everything is new, everything is good. 18 months in, things start getting harder. And that's really what I think that the work that I'm putting together now is very valuable to somebody to be able to refocus, rethink stuff, and then actually get a renewed energy to actually keep going or to make a better decision for you, whatever that decision is that you need to make at that point.
I'm really excited for this because some of the best episodes that we've done on Strategy Short so far are the ones where people are saying, really, when I started writing this thing or putting this framework together, it's the stuff that I wish that I'd had 5 years ago. I'm speaking to that younger version of myself. And I think when people start there with that passion and that motivation as a driver, that's when really fantastic content comes to life. So why don't you start taking us through this 5-step approach, and I'll dive in if I've got any questions.
Yes, that sounds good. So now keep in mind that what I'm writing now this is what I wish I had. And I had a lot of resources available to me, and those are the things that was piecing together a solution for the problem that I was having. My problem at that point was all the systems that you will consider on the burnout aspect, which are, you take a rest, you sleep well, but you're still tired. You're like endlessly tired. You make mistakes that normally are like, 2 years ago, I would write an email like this, and now it takes me 2 hours to write an email. I'm second guessing myself all the time. What's going on? It's like, I had a lot more confidence before. Now I cannot even actually talk to a client. I don't know. There are a lot of things that are like, it's not the same you that started the business where you are now. A lot of things is like an internal battle. And although I had, a therapist, I was talking to a therapist. I never felt that the therapist really understood the challenges that I had as a founder. It's my relationship with my co-founder. You got to meet payroll every month. All the things that are related to that I felt that my therapist really didn't understand. Although I got a lot of help from him, but it was just not the same thing. And I talked to other founders, and I couldn't find the answers there either, because there was always something that was holding back on both sides. The other founders, my peers, and me would not share everything. It would not be a full conversation. Advisors were like showing up once a month. There was really nobody to talk to. And the material that I was reading, it was, I was getting pieces here. And now, after I'm done with the whole process, I figure out, okay, these are the 5 major things that I learned in this process that I think are going to be useful for somebody that would be in my position before. So to start, it's awareness. You need to bring a greater level of awareness on your behavior, specifically your thoughts, what's happening in your head, what are you thinking about, how you framing what's happening to you. Let's say, for example, you get a no from an investor. How do you frame that no? Is that something because, you are bad, or it's just because of the bigger context? Maybe the investor didn't understand. So there are a lot of things that really need to understand what happens inside your head. So you actually take the actions that follow that in a positive way, not necessarily in a negative, on a negative spiral. The second And all these 5 pillars that I gave you are not necessarily one after the other, but they are all important. And sometimes, you need to think and you act on the 5 of them the same day. Sometimes you focus only on one. The second pillar is it's really about you. At the end of the day, everything starts with you. So you need to understand how is your relationship with yourself. And if you don't take care of that relationship first before you take care of anything else, you have very, very little chances of success. So that means like how you loving yourself, how you accepting yourself with your own limitations. What are the actions that you're taking every day to improve on those limitations? So it's really understanding yourself, giving you the appreciation and the love that you need to have, and really not putting yourself in second place to your business, second place to your customers, to your investors, to anybody else. You need to come first, because if you are in good shape, you are emotionally on the best shape possible, everything flows from there. Everybody wins. And you being in good shape is the best thing that can happen to your business. Now, the third step is acceptance. And I remember there's somebody, my dad once told me, it's like, Manuel, if you want to learn how to ride a bike, you need to be willing to fall. And that, that thing stuck in my head. And the reality is that once you accept falling down, then there's just a process, the system and processes. It's like how you go about riding the bike. And the same with the business. It's like you need to accept what your situation is, accept your limitation. It's just like when things come your way that is not what you were expecting, just accept it. Just like, judo, just accept it and move forward. So accepting what's happening to you is a big part of overcoming the challenges and not being in a negative spiral that you are keep beating yourself up, or you are keep thinking that the world is against you. There's so many things that happen in your head that acceptance will eliminate those, and you can focus on the right thing. The fourth pillar is something that I practice every day, and that's been immensely useful to me, is gratitude. And I've been doing gratitude journaling for years. And it's in the darkest day that you have as a founder, or really in any situation, that if you sit down and write 3 things that you're grateful for, just 3 things, whatever those are, and it could be a silly things like, I'm grateful for my dog, that I can pet him, and the unconditional love I receive from that creature. Or it could be something, incredible that happened to you, whatever it is, so being grateful, it just brings that energy that is positive on top. And the more you do it, now I'm in a situation that I'm constantly looking at things, and I look at the good in them, not necessarily what is not happening to me or what I'm not getting from life. But you're looking at, oh, fuck, I'm getting up in the morning and I walk in the cold air in my face. And as the sun is starting to shine, it's just like this beautiful moment that you treasure, and that you understand that it's like, yeah, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm super enjoying it. And I've been writing this, and what I've been doing too is sharing this online. So every night I post 3 things I'm grateful for, and I've been doing it for a year, religiously, like not even missing a day. And it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding because it keeps me thinking about that. And the last one is joy. I used to think as a founder that hustling was the main driver, but the reality is that joy is the ultimate goal. As humans, we are driven by joy. Joy is really what we want. When we say happiness, when we say money, when we do all those things, if you really look at them, they're tied to joy. And if you're thinking about all the time that you don't need to make the money in order to have the car, to have the joy of having the car, or whatever, or make the money to have the vacation, to have the joy of being on vacation. If you can get the joy from the morning walk, like I just told you, like I got the joy from the morning walk and joy from my dog. If you're consistently looking at the joy in things, that is that you're there. And then when you're there, everything else happens a lot easier. The fundraising happens a lot easier, getting the ideas for the product that you were missing and all the things that were not clicking on you happen a lot easier. So really it's getting to the point of finding joy is the ultimate goal. And if you're thinking about the whole day, if you're keeping that in your mind, you are going to find more joy than if you're not thinking about it. So those are the 5 steps. As I said, it's like you don't need to do one after the other, but you need to keep those in mind all the time. So your decisions are based on that. Your thinking is based on that. You're controlling your life, and you're living your life based on that. And those 5 things is really what I am, what helped me in my journey. I was in a very dark place. Now I feel that I'm in the best place I've ever been. So it's just a set of tools that I know it works. I think it's like, everybody will take it and everybody's different and everybody can look at this in a different way, but I know it's possible. So yeah, that's what I'm sharing online now.
I love the way you've described this because it's more of a practice, right? It's not something that happens overnight. It's a set of principles and a set of practices that you do need to invest in over time. People would love to position things as here's the quick win to do X, or here's the easy way to get reach, or here's the hack that's going to bring you happiness. But what you've described are 5 principles, 5 practices that don't just fall into place overnight. They take some discipline and they take some nurturing. And just to revisit them, we're talking about awareness, which is your thoughts and how you frame your experiences. The second thing you mentioned was the focus on you, the about you section, where you're making sure that you're not taking second place. I think that's such an important thing, to make sure that you're not trading away all your personal time just to write another piece of content or make another sales call. Like, you've got to focus on you and protecting yourself. The third one, which I just love, is about acceptance and not being afraid to fail. I've delivered a lot of presentations and I've spoken at lots of functions. And when I was in my early 20s, I was really nervous before speaking at an event. And I remember the first time I did this, and I've done it every time I've done a talk since, is I said to myself out loud, privately, of course, because people would have thought I was being a bit strange. But I said to myself out loud, I'm not afraid to fail. Because the auditory feedback, the experience of saying that out loud and actually hearing it, it activates different parts of your brain and your brain chemistry. So when I hear that turn of phrase to myself now, I'm not afraid to fail, it reminds me that, hey, do you know what? If I stumble over my words, the only person who notices really is me. No one else in the room is watching out for those things. So the worst thing you can do is, if you stumble or you lose your way or you get lost in a sentence somewhere, if actually that makes you seize up and makes you afraid, that's when people around you start noticing that, and they notice that you're suddenly feeling a bit awkward and you're feeling uncomfortable. Whereas actually, if you stumble and then you just recover very quickly, that shows real confidence and real skill. And so reminding yourself that, hey, it's okay to stumble over a few words. Like, nobody is trying to catch you out. Just find your rhythm, find your breathing, and keep going. Create that breathing space for yourself. So I love that piece about acceptance. Then we've got the gratitude piece. Love that idea of journaling 3 things you're grateful for. I also have a little dog who I just love, and he keeps me going day by day. But such an easy thing for people to do. And then we've got that last piece around joy, and about joy being the driver, not something else, not commercial success, but let that be the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, and keep returning as to, why am I doing this? Does this make me joyful? Is this going to bring me that sense of joyful satisfaction? So I love this, and I love that these are 5 practices that people can really, really invest in. Now, we're sort of knocking on the end of our time together, unfortunately, because I feel that we could spend many hours swimming in this together. But from your perspective, Manuel, we love to finish on something super practical for people to take away and try. Obviously, all of this is very, very practical. But if you were to encourage people to start with just one thing, or try one thing as soon as this episode is finished, where do you think they should start?
Look, I think to me, everything clicked when I understood that everything starts with myself. Everything starts with you. If you're in a good shape, you're in good mental place. If you're in good physical shape, everything flows from there. So I would say, like, anybody listening to this, just think about where are you in the top priorities that you have? Just look at your to-do list for today. Where's that? Where do you fit in there? And that means your physical health, your emotional, your relationships, everything that goes around, not necessarily just the business itself, but everything around. So I would say the takeaway is like, start with yourself. Yeah, that's it, man. Start with yourself.
Awesome, Manuel. Well, I know that people are going to really want to dig into these 5 pillars with you. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to link your profile in the show notes so people can connect with you there. But also, people can visit foundersfightingburnout.com, where they can get on a kind of a 5-day email sequence where you're walking them through these different pillars in more detail. So I'll make sure all of that is connected up in the show notes. And I would encourage anybody, if this has moved you, inspired you, the situation that Manuel has described, and actually you want to invest in these 5 pillars and make a change, visit that website, find Manuel on LinkedIn, and take it a step further. But that's about all the time, unfortunately, that we've got for today's episode. So Manuel, thank you so much for making some time for Strategy Shorts, and let's speak again soon.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it, Dan. Cheers, bro.